It was our third wedding anniversary, the day Isabelle Vance promised she'd go with me to the Rockies. When the avalanche hit that night, I threw myself against her tent, a human shield. It cost me a day and a night buried in 30 below zero snow. The next time I saw her, she was walking into my hospital room on the arm of Alex Chun, her white moonlight assistant. Her gaze fell on my ruined, frostbitten legs. "We need to," she started. "Let's get a divorce," I said, looking right at her. My voice was calm. "This afternoon, my surgeon delivered the ultimatum. If you still can't feel hot or cold by tomorrow, you need to make a decision. The orthopedic surgeons at this hospital are the best in the country. I can personally guarantee the amputation will be clean." Just as the words settled in the sterile air, a ripple of laughter and playful scolding echoed from the hallway. I knew that woman's voice better than my own. I just offered my life to protect it. Isabelle walked in, her arm linked with Alex's. When Alex saw me, he made a show of trying to pull his hand away, but his fingertips lingered, perfectly placed against the delicate skin of Isabelle's wrist. She patted his hand reassuringly, her eyes full of a tenderness I hadn't seen in years. "It's okay," she murmured to him. "Don't be scared." From an angle she couldn't see, Alex shot me a smug, triumphant smile. The old me would have lunged at them. I would have ripped their hand apart, slapped Alex across the face, and screamed that he was a shameless homewrecker. Then I would have grabbed Isabelle's hand, begging like a dog for her to fire him, to never see him again. But now, I just watched them, this tangled little drama of theirs, and felt nothing. Not a flicker of anger. I even managed a gentle smile. "Thanks for coming to see me," I said. "Have a seat." The smirk vanished from Alex's face, replaced by confusion. Isabelle looked baffled too, though her expression quickly soured back to its usual state of annoyance with me. "Leo, there's something I need to tell you." Just then, a nurse came in with a cart. She pulled back my blanket, and the words caught in Isabelle's throat. After a night buried in snow, my legs had lost all feeling. Worse, the rescue had scraped off layers of skin, leaving a raw, mangled mess of flesh. Even with the scabs that had formed, it was a grotesque sight. "What is it?" I asked, turning my attention to the handful of pills the nurse gave me. I swallowed them down without looking at Isabelle. Her beautiful face was a mask of shock. This wasn't our usual routine. Normally, I would be the one chattering away, telling her about my day, and she would cut me off impatiently before disappearing upstairs. She rarely started a conversation. If, on a good day, she called me over, I would stare at her, mesmerized, hanging on her every word like a starving man. The nurse finished the day's physical therapy and left, but Isabelle still hadn't spoken. So I asked again, patiently, "What is it?" A flicker of panic crossed Alex's eyes. He squeezed Isabelle's hand, his expression pleading. This time, whether it was because the sight of my legs had sickened her or for some other reason, she didn't respond to him. "Leo, let's get a divorce," I said again. After all these years of being her doormat, I knew her too well. I knew exactly what she was about to say. Saying it first felt like setting down a 1,000-pound weight. Buried under 30-degree snow, I'd had a lot of time to think. I finally understood that you can't force someone to love you. It was time to try living for myself. The shock in Alex's eyes deepened into a real sense of crisis. His grip on Isabelle's hand tightened. "Mr. Hayes, even if you play the victim, you might get her pity, but you'll never get her love." They thought this was just another one of my games. But they were wrong. This time I was just tired. I was letting go. "You can handle the division of assets after the divorce," I said. "As you can see, I'm not really in a position to deal with it right now." Isabelle's gaze dropped to my legs again, but they were covered by the blanket now. She pulled her hand free from Alex's. "We can talk about the divorce later," she said, her voice a fraction warmer than before. "What I was going to say is, we can postpone our plans for having a child." She took a breath. "I'll come back tonight. We can have dinner together." Alex followed her out, his face a thundercloud. And then, evening came. 9 o'clock. Midnight. Isabelle never showed up. That night, I ate dinner alone and went to sleep early. The next morning, the shift nurse told me no one had come by. The girl in the next room had ordered too much for breakfast and brought me a tray. I was halfway through my oatmeal when Isabelle swept in, carrying an elaborate food container from some Michelin-starred restaurant. I didn't stop eating when I saw her. She set the container down, then walked over and swept my tray, the oatmeal, hard-boiled egg, and orange juice, into the trash can. As she bent over, the delicate skin of her collarbone revealed a constellation of angry-looking bite marks. "My dog wouldn't eat this garbage," she snapped. "Besides, didn't I tell you to wait for me?" I didn't open the gourmet meal. I just took a sip of water and leaned back against my pillows. I was hungry. If I don't eat all night, they can't put in the forge rip the next day. At the word night, a flicker of something, guilt, crossed her face, and she dropped the argument. After a moment, she brought up the avalanche, her tone softening. "You know, you were so foolish. I wasn't even in the tent. Why didn't you just run?" I hadn't known she was gone. I hadn't known that a single text from Alex was enough to make her book a flight and leave me alone on a mountain. I only figured it out later when I saw his Instagram story. It was a picture of him in bed, captioned "feverish," and on a nightstand, clear as day, was our wedding ring. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I really was foolish. Isabelle seemed thrown by my agreement. She looked down, fussing with her blouse. Seeing the bite marks, she pulled the collar up, a small, self-satisfied smile playing on her lips as she opened the container of food. She speared a cherry tomato with a fork and held it to my lips. "I'll come take care of you more often from now on." I swatted her hand away. It wasn't a hard push, but the tomato fell to the floor. "Leo, what the hell is your problem?" she demanded, a note of indignation in her voice. "I'm not disgusted by your legs, and you're throwing a tantrum? I wasn't the one who told you to stand guard over that empty tent." She had a terrible temper. In the past, whenever she blew up, I was always the one to apologize, to coax and soothe her. I'd buy her an expensive gift, take her to dinner, and sometimes even get on one knee and slap my own face, begging her forgiveness before she'd finally relent. Not today. I just repeated what I'd said yesterday. I'm not throwing a tantrum. Let's get a divorce. Isabelle's face cycled through shades of white and red. Just then, her phone screen lit up. The wallpaper, an intimate photo of her and Alex, flashed in front of us. She mashed the lock button. Don't get the wrong idea. That was from a party last night. Everyone was drunk and dared us to take a picture. Publicly, Isabelle and Alex were the inseparable work duo. Since they were old college friends, their closeness fueled endless gossip. I could clearly see the background of the photo was a hotel room, but I didn't call her on it. "Okay," I said, closing my eyes to rest. A few minutes passed. I opened my eyes and checked the weather on my phone. Seeing she was still there, I said, "You should have Alex stay with you tonight." Her pale face flushed a deep crimson. She looked at me as if I'd lost my mind. What are you talking about?" I held up my phone so she could see the screen. "There's a thunderstorm forecast for tonight. Wouldn't it be better if Alex stayed with you?" It was our ritual, one of the few tender moments we ever shared. She was terrified of thunderstorms, and no matter how much we'd fought during the day, on a stormy night, we would always sleep in the same bed, and I would hold her until it passed. Inevitably, things would happen, and now I was offering that role to Alex. I was giving her permission to bring him into our home. Whatever happened between them, I no longer cared. Isabelle processed my words, a look of dawning comprehension on her face. It was the "I knew it" expression. "You know, Alex was right," she said, her voice dripping with scorn. "This whole playing the victim routine is getting old. Even with your leg, I haven't forgotten the disgusting things you've done. You can't manipulate me." I didn't get angry. I just sighed. "Think whatever you want. Now please get out. I need to rest." After she left, I picked up my phone and sent a message. Alex and Isabelle were college classmates. The rumor was Isabelle had been obsessed with someone else back then, a guy who already had a girlfriend. Unwilling to give up, Isabelle repeatedly tried to sabotage the girl to break them up. At one point, she'd even hired men to assault the girl. Luckily, the plot was discovered before it could be carried out, and Isabelle's family money made the whole problem disappear. Through it all, Alex was by her side, her confidant, her enabler. Once she'd reformed, she decided she wanted to marry Alex, but the class divide between their families was too vast. So, she married me instead. She'd always believed I was the one who secretly plotted to keep her and Alex apart. Maybe in the beginning I was. I was jealous of Alex. I spent every waking moment scheming up ways to win her heart, and yes, I considered some pretty despicable tactics. But not anymore. Now, I genuinely wanted to see them together. I figured it was the least I could do to earn some good karma after wasting the first half of my life. That night, lightning flashed and thunder cracked outside. The nurse had already drawn the curtains. I was just drifting off to sleep when the door creaked open. A familiar figure slipped into the room, slid into my bed, and wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. There was a time I would have given anything for Isabelle to come to my room, to lie beside me willingly. Once, when she had her period, I brought her a hot water bottle. I gently got into bed behind her, wanting to use my own body heat to soothe her cramps. Before I could even touch her, she kicked me out of the bed with ferocious strength. The scalding water spilled all over my skin, blistering the areas not covered by my clothes. "Did I say you could touch me?" she had hissed. When I tried to push myself up, my palm landed on the shattered plastic, and blood gushed from the cut. Now, the warmth of her chest pressed against my back through the thin hospital gown. A loud clap of thunder boomed, and she held me tighter. After the sound faded, I pushed her arms away. Humiliated and furious, she was about to lash out when her phone buzzed with a notification. She'd forgotten to silence it. Alex's eager voice filled the quiet room. "Hey, I'm in your bed. When are you coming? Kinda nervous. First time in your house." From her expression, there was a third message, probably something too filthy to be heard out loud. She quickly locked the screen and looked at me, her mind racing. "I told him to go," I said calmly. "He thinks the invitation came from you. If you leave now, you can probably still make it." The look on her face went beyond shock. She was staring at me like I was a complete stranger. I met her gaze without a trace of resentment. For once, she was the one who looked guilty. She slowly sat up and took my hand again. "I'm not going anywhere tonight," she whispered. "I'm staying right here with you, okay?" She had her ways of apologizing, or rather, what passed for an apology. A soft word, a coquettish glance, and all my anger would melt away. But this time, there was no anger to melt. Everything I was doing came from a place of genuine indifference. I truly, sincerely wished them well. I sighed. "Do whatever you want. It's your life." True to her word, Isabelle didn't leave. She lay with her back to me, the screen of her phone casting a faint, intermittent glow in the darkness. The next morning, she brought me breakfast herself, a spread from my favorite diner. She proudly presented it while simultaneously telling me to make do for now, promising that once I was home, our private chef would prepare proper nutritious meals for me. I didn't touch any of it. There was a time when anything she gave me tasted like the finest gourmet meal. Now, even my favorite food held no appeal. I had the nurse bring me some soup and toast from the cafeteria. This time, Isabelle didn't throw it away. She just sat there and watched me eat. "You're eating," she said, a hint of relief in her voice. "Does that mean you're not angry with me anymore?" I paused. I remembered all the times she'd gone out all night drinking with Alex. My form of protest had always been a hunger strike, a pathetic attempt to win her sympathy. Thinking back, it was laughable. It never worked, and all I got from my troubles was a severe case of gastritis. I didn't answer her. She didn't press the issue, just told me to get some rest. Not long after, Isabelle arranged for my discharge. She told me she had contacted specialists in Switzerland and that I should go abroad for treatment. On the day I left the hospital, I was in a wheelchair. Isabelle had hired 3 burly bodyguards to manage it for me. She told me to wait for her, that she would fly with me and stay for a while. The final boarding call echoed through the terminal. She never came. One of the bodyguards received a text. He hesitated before turning to me. "Mr. Hayes, Ms. Vance's assistant was in a car accident. She's at the hospital with him now. I don't think she's going to make it." Isabelle was a connoisseur of broken promises, especially when Alex was involved. A single word from him, a cryptic, moody Instagram story, was enough to make her drop everything and run to his side. The old me would have been devastated for days. This time, I just had one thing to say to the bodyguards. "Could you do me a favor?" It was 3 months before Isabelle found me. By then, I'd had the amputation. I was still waiting for my prosthetics. She burst into my room at the private clinic, stopping short at the sight of me. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "Leo, you—" I gave her a cool, distant look and wheeled my chair back a few inches. "Ms. Vance, are you here to deliver the divorce papers?" Before leaving for Switzerland, I'd had the bodyguards take me to a different hospital entirely. I sent them home, but not before giving them an envelope. Inside was the divorce agreement, which I had already signed. Isabelle rushed forward and grabbed my hands. I didn't mean to leave you alone. Alex was really in an accident that day, a mild concussion. I had to stay with him. As she spoke, she placed a basket of expensive supplements on my table, then picked up a thermos of chicken soup and tried to spoon feed me. I pretended to take the spoon, then let it slip. It clattered into the bowl, splashing hot, greasy broth onto Isabelle's perfectly made-up face. "Smells cheap," I said. I lost my appetite. She covered her face, dabbing at the soup with a silk handkerchief. For once, she didn't lash out at me. "I know you're angry at Alex, and you're not thinking clearly right now. That's why I'm not signing any divorce papers." She continued, "And there's really nothing going on between me and Alex. These past few months, I've just been looking after him as his boss. Normal visits, that's all." I turned my wheelchair to face the window. "You don't have to explain anything to me. Just sign the papers. Then, whatever you and Alex do will be perfectly legal and moral." Isabelle walked to the table, picked up the divorce agreement, and tore it in half. "There's been a misunderstanding between us," she insisted. "Wait for me. I promise I'll give you a reasonable explanation." "Why should I wait for you?" I asked, blinking as if the concept was completely foreign to me. Waiting used to be my greatest skill. I would wait for Isabelle to finish work, no matter how late she stayed. I'd wait until she finally emerged from the building, always with Alex by her side. The winter wind would chill me to the bone, aggravating my gastritis, while Alex would be beaming. "That lunch your chef made was amazing, Ms. Vance," he'd say. "Who was your caterer?" Isabelle's gaze would turn to ice. "If you want a meal from my chef, I'll have one sent over next time. As for today's lunch, don't eat it. It's not clean." My hope, along with my waiting, would shatter into a million pieces. Back in the clinic room, I rephrased the question. "Isabelle, what gives you the right to make me wait?" Her eyes dropped to my amputated legs. Let me help you back to bed." I waved her off. Undeterred, she stepped forward to help anyway. As she reached for me, her wallet fell out of her pocket, and a small photo booth picture fluttered out. It was her and Alex, smiling, their heads close together. "Let me explain," she said quickly. "This was from a company retreat. Everyone had to take one. I just thought it was a nice picture, so I kept it. If you don't like it, I'll cut his half off right now." "Why would you do that?" I said calmly. "It's a nice photo. You two look good together." Her hand trembled as she held the small pair of scissors she'd produced. The blade pricked her finger, and she looked up at me, her eyes welling with tears. I reached for a small bottle on my nightstand. A hopeful expression flickered across Isabelle's face. I uncapped it and poured the contents directly onto her cut. She screamed in pain. It was rubbing alcohol. She wasn't used to it, but I was. Whenever things didn't go her way, she liked to take it out on me with a belt. The iodine was never enough, so I always had to clean the wounds with alcohol afterward. Fat tears streamed down Isabelle's face. She reached for my hand just as one of the bodyguards knocked and entered. "Ms. Vance, your itinerary for today is to accompany Mr. Chun to his post-op checkup. Your flight leaves in an hour and a half. We need to leave soon." Isabelle had the bodyguard help me onto the bed. Then, ignoring him completely, she wrapped her arms around me. "Wait for me one more time. Please, just one last time, honey. I promise I'll be back for you this time." I coolly pushed her away, my voice edged with impatience. "Please have some self-respect, Ms. Vance." This time, she didn't argue with the formal address. She just left in a hurry with her bodyguard. A few days later, my childhood friend, Dr. Julian Miles, fitted me with my new prosthetics. The technology was incredible. Aside from needing regular cleaning, they felt no different from my own legs. When I had first arrived at his clinic months ago, he told me that even the world's best surgeon, the very one Isabelle had name dropped, couldn't save my legs. Amputation was the only way. I trusted him. That famous surgeon had been his mentor. He performed the surgery, and day by day, I got stronger. After Isabelle left, Julian came into the room. "Was that your wife?" he asked. I nodded, then shook my head. "We're getting divorced." He nodded thoughtfully. Soon after getting my prosthetics, I was discharged. I moved into a quiet cottage in Vermont to recover. The owner was a Swiss-American woman named Claire, whose husband had passed away. She'd studied in China for a year and could speak basic Mandarin, which was a strange coincidence. With her help, My ability to walk with the prosthetics improved every day. Then one day, I ran into Isabelle. Alex was with her. From the looks of it, they were on vacation. They had rented a room in the upstairs portion of Claire's cottage. Alex came downstairs to talk to Claire and saw me practicing with my prosthetics in the yard. He immediately ran back to Isabelle. See, what did I tell you? There was a reason he was in such a hurry to leave the clinic. Isabelle stormed over and shoved Claire to the ground. "You shameless, gold-digging bitch," she screamed. Seeing she was about to hit her, I grabbed a walking cane leaning against the porch and, without a word, used it to trip both of them, sending them sprawling to the ground. Alex, caught completely off guard by my strength, scrambled up and lunged at me. Before he could land a punch, Isabelle shoved him back and slapped him hard across the face. "Who the hell do you think you are?" she snarled, raising a hand to my husband. Whether it was an act or not, Alex's eyes reddened. He turned and stormed off. After he was gone, Isabelle stared at me in disbelief, pointing a trembling finger at Claire. "You hit me for her." I had never, ever laid a hand on Isabelle, no matter how angry she made me. I only ever hurt myself. "You assaulted my friend, Ms. Vance," I said evenly. I was defending her. Is that a problem? With that one sentence, I had cast her out. She was a stranger, less important than my friend, Claire. She staggered back. "So what's going on? What are you two to each other?" "It's exactly what it looks like," I replied vaguely. "I don't believe you." Isabelle pointed at Claire again, but her words died in her throat, replaced by a terrified shriek. Claire had just come from the garden shed. "What were you doing with those garden shears?" Isabelle stammered. Claire tilted her head. "You look like you wanted to trim the hedges." Isabelle scrambled away, backpedaling out of the yard. "Leo, do something. Control this crazy woman," she shrieked from the safety of the driveway. I gave Claire a gentle smile. "She's free to do as she pleases." Isabelle ran. When it came down to her life, or mine, she chose herself every time. I thought of all the times I had stood in front of her, a human shield against her family's business rivals, taking the brunt of their rage. I assumed she was gone for good. But on a snowy evening a week later, she was back, standing at the gate to the yard. "I sent Alex back to New York," she called out. "Honey, please let me in. I need to talk to you." I shook my head. "Sorry, I'm not the landlord. It's not my decision." The implication was clear. She had to ask Claire. But after our last encounter, Claire was furious with her. There was no way she'd rent a room to Isabelle now. I shrugged as if to say my hands are tied. The snow was coming down harder. I rubbed my hands together and went back inside my warm house. The snow fell heavily, but it was nothing like the avalanche. I could hear her calling my name over and over. I just lay on the couch, sipping hot tea, and didn't answer. During that time, I authorized my lawyer via video call to handle all aspects of the divorce, including the division of assets. Isabelle's refusal to sign wouldn't stop the process. After finishing the call, I closed my laptop. Claire came in to tell me that Isabelle had collapsed in the snow outside the gate. She'd already called an ambulance. I thanked her, but I didn't go outside to look. A while later, Julian called me in for a checkup. As I walked past one of the hospital rooms, a disheveled woman lunged out and grabbed my arm. "Honey, please listen to me," she rasped. "I've cut all ties with Alex. Please don't leave me, okay?" I realized with a jolt that the woman was Isabelle. She was almost unrecognizable. "Leo," I looked up. Julian was walking toward us down the hall. When Isabelle saw him, she instinctively lowered her head. And just like that, I understood. They knew each other. Julian was the one she'd been obsessed with in college. Julian gave her a polite nod, handed me my test results, and walked away. After he was gone, Isabelle seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. As I turned to leave, she blocked my path again. "Are you angry again?" "Please, believe me, I'm done with Alex. And Julian, I don't love him anymore either." Her constant dramatics were wearing on me. My voice was cold. "Ms. Vance, who you love is none of my business. Go home. The divorce proceedings are waiting for you. My lawyer will be in touch." "Leo," I just turned my back when her sharp cry stopped me. She was holding a pair of scissors to her chest. "If you don't agree to come back with me, I'll push it in." I glanced at her once, then started to walk away. My indifference seemed to shock her more than anything. There was a sickening sound. The scissors plunged into her chest. Blood bloomed on the swan-like column of her neck. This being a hospital, nurses spotted her as she raised the scissors for a second strike. They rushed over, disarmed her, and wheeled her into a room to treat the wound. It wasn't life-threatening, but she would need to be hospitalized for a while. During that time, Julian made a point of looking in on her. One day, I saw him coming out of her room, and his face was darker than I had ever seen it. Julian was proud, but he was always courteous. This was the first time I'd ever seen him look so utterly grim. That was the first and only time I went into Isabelle's hospital room. She had lost a shocking amount of weight. When she saw me, a light flickered in her vacant eyes. "Ms. Vance," I said, "your lawyer lost the case. We are no longer husband and wife." It was absurd to think I had poured half my life into that thin piece of paper, that I had been so hopelessly in love with this woman. She had lied again. She hadn't cut ties with Alex. When I sent someone to our old house to pack my things, they found Alex lounging in my bathtub, sipping red wine. I had them smash the tub. As for Alex, he spent 10 days in a holding cell for trespassing. When I told Isabelle this, a flash of panic crossed her face. She really did love him. "You're a single woman now," I reminded her. "You can remarry whenever you like." "No, honey, I don't want a divorce. Can we get married again? Right now." "Remarry?" Yes, she said, her eyes wide with hope. I gave a short, cold laugh. "Do you know what my standards are for a wife?" I asked. "She has to be clean. A clean woman." The meaning was unmistakable. She was dirty. She collapsed to the floor. Without my help, she struggled to pull herself back up, just as she would have struggled all those years ago without me cleaning up her messes and without my family's financial backing of her company. This time, I'd taken it all back. I was getting better with my prosthetics. I easily sidestepped her desperate grab. "Take care of yourself, Ms. Vance." After I recovered, I returned to New York. After finalizing the asset liquidation, I went back to the house Isabelle and I had once shared, wondering when I should put on the market. A furtive figure lurking near the gate caught my eye. It was Alex. He was dressed in cheap, ill-fitting clothes, not his usual expensive designer suits. I almost didn't recognize him. When he saw me, he looked guilty, then defiant. "Where's Isabelle? What have you done with her?" I did a quick mental calculation. "She should be flying back any day now. You can probably catch her at the airport." My complete lack of emotion seemed to surprise him, but he saw I wasn't lying and seemed to accept it. Before he left, he shot me a final, arrogant look. "Isabelle loves me more than anyone. Don't think your little tricks will ever win her back." I smiled. "Yes, of course. Best of luck to you both. I hope you're locked together forever." Back at my office, my lawyer informed me that the liquidation was complete. Isabelle owed $30 million. An investigation revealed that she had been wiring $3 million a month to an anonymous account. She was being deported back to the country. Soon, photos of her at the airport were everywhere. As a former public figure of a major corporation, her fall from grace was a hot topic for the tabloids. "Ms. Vance, where have you been? Is it true you were spotted in Switzerland? Is there any truth to the rumors that your divorce from Mr. Hayes was due to your affair with your assistant? Vance Industries is on the verge of collapse. When do you plan to declare bankruptcy?" Vance Industries. If it hadn't been for our marriage for my family's bailout, it would have gone under years ago. I turned off the TV board. I had no idea I was missing the main event. The next morning, I woke up from the deepest, most peaceful sleep I'd had in years. I was going through my routine of cleaning my prosthetics when I got a call from my office. Alex Chun was dead. The company's legal relationship with him wasn't fully terminated, and given our complicated history, the staff didn't know how to proceed. I told them to just follow standard legal protocol. Then I asked, "How did he die?" The person on the other end hesitated. He was pushed down a flight of stairs by Ms. Vance. He fell and died." I was silent for a moment, then opened YouTube. Sure enough, the whole incident from yesterday was there. In the shaky cell phone footage, Alex and Isabelle were arguing heatedly at the airport. You couldn't make out the words, but it was ugly. At the end, Isabelle's eyes went wide, and then she burst into manic laughter. "Alex, all that time you spent with me, guiding me, it was all for money," she shrieked. "I was blind to ever trust you. Go to hell." Before he could react, she shoved him. He tumbled backward down the long escalator, his eyes wide open in shock, even in death. The crowd screamed, and the video ended. Isabelle's actions were shocking, but as I thought back over recent events, an answer began to form in my mind. I went online and started researching old cases from 10 years ago. The answer became clearer and clearer. I didn't intervene. Isabelle and I had no legal connection anymore. Besides, there were some things she needed to pay for. A few days later, I received a call. Isabelle wanted to see me. This time, I didn't refuse. I had a feeling it would be the last time. I went to the detention center. Through a thick pane of glass, I saw her. She was skeletal, her face almost unrecognizable. Her first words were, "Honey, that day you were buried under the snow. Were you cold?" Before I could answer, she answered for herself. "Of course you were. How could you not be? 30 below zero. You almost died." A large tear rolled down her cheek, followed by a bitter smile. "All those times I hit you, screamed at you, used you as my punching bag, cheated on you. You must hate me so much." I looked at her and calmly shook my head. "So you'll take me back, right?" she asked, pressing her hands against the glass, her eyes burning with desperate hope. "We could get married again." "I'm sorry. I believe I've already told you why that's not possible," I said. "And when I say I don't hate you, I mean it. You can't hate someone you don't love. Ms. Vance, I am no longer in love with you." She wilted like a dying leaf, slumping against the glass, all her energy gone. She started to cough, a racking, painful sound. I thought I saw flecks of blood. A guard came in and tried to put an oxygen mask on her face. She kept tearing off, her voice a raw cry. "Leo, I was wrong. Please forgive me." I looked at her, this broken, delusional woman, and shook my head. I turned and walked out of the detention center. After that, I booked another flight to Switzerland. Julian didn't seem surprised to see me. He carefully examined my legs, checked the fit of my prosthetics, and wrote a few prescriptions. Finally, he smiled. "You're recovering remarkably well. You've adapted to the prosthetics perfectly. You shouldn't have any issues with daily life from now on." I thanked him and waited. I knew there was more. He took off his white coat. "That woman is dead, isn't she?" he asked. "I don't know," I said, but the last time I saw her, she was coughing up blood and needed oxygen. A wave of relief washed over Julian's face. "Then she's probably dead by now." "Good. I've finally gotten justice for Sarah." Julian told me about Sarah Jenkins. In college, they were the perfect couple, the one everyone envied. Good-looking, from good families, top of their class. They were like something out of a novel, destined to be together. One day, on her way home from campus, Sarah was dragged into a nearby cornfield by several large men who intended to rape her. A local farmer happened to be passing by and saved her just in time. They were supposed to go abroad for graduate school together at the end of the semester. On Valentine's Day, Julian bought roses and a ring, planning to propose. Instead, he learned that Sarah was dead. The official report said she had taken her own life, unable to live with the shame. "Impossible," Julian said, his eyes distant but his voice firm. "Sarah was the most optimistic person I knew. She would never kill herself." "I did some digging," he continued. "On the day she died, she received a call from an unregistered burner phone. The number was a dead end, but I had a friend trace the IP address. Guess where it pinged?" I shook my head. "Your house." "It had to be Isabelle," Julian said, his voice hard as steel. "She must have convinced Sarah to kill herself." It made a twisted kind of sense. The attempted rape was a stain on the pristine reputation of Isabelle Vance. If she didn't silence the victim, it would be a loose end that could unravel her life. And I had recently noticed something else. My facial features bore a slight resemblance to Julian's. I suppose that's part of the reason she agreed to marry me. As for Alex, he probably never had Isabelle's real love. Not for a second. Suddenly, a thought struck me. "Alex, did he ever contact Sarah?" Julian looked puzzled, but started typing into his database. When the result came up, his eyes widened in horror. "But," Sarah told me, "he was just comforting her. He was being a good upperclassman." "He was an accomplice," I said. "He might have been the last straw that broke her." I remembered a night Isabelle had gotten drunk and was vomiting all over the bathroom. As I was cleaning up the mess, she insisted on pulling me into bed. It was one of the rare times she was ever pliant and affectionate. I thought I had finally won her over. But then, in her sleep, she mumbled Alex's name. "He said that Jenkins girl had a better body than me. Alex, just you wait." She mumbled other details, things Alex had said about that Jenkins girl, describing scenes as if she had been there herself. A cold dread washed over me, so I started looking into old kidnapping cases from that era. One stood out. A young woman went missing. Her family filed a report, and then, a short time later, they withdrew it. Using the same contact info, the family reported her missing several times, but each time, the case was dropped. I showed the number to Julian. "That's Sarah's mother's phone number," he said, stunned. "The whole family moved away after Sarah died." "They probably gave up hope," I said. "No matter how many times they went to the police, Vance Industries had the power to make it all go away." Now that Vance Industries had collapsed, I wondered if that cold case could finally be reopened. Julian turned himself in. He confessed to providing Isabelle with a fatal overdose of medication during her hospital stay, exchanging his own future to finally bring the truth about Sarah's death to light. She had indeed died by suicide, but for 3 months leading up to her death, she was repeatedly kidnapped and taken to an abandoned factory. There, Alex would torture her while Isabelle watched. Her so-called white moonlight was nothing more than a co-conspirator. To think I had sacrificed so much for a woman like that, including my own 2 legs. The irony was so bitter I could have laughed until I cried. The last time I went to the detention center, it was as her next of kin, to collect her personal effects. They told me that in her final days, she had knitted a pair of socks for me. It was the first and last thing she ever made for me with her own hands. But it was a shame. My feet were made of carbon fiber and plastic. They couldn't feel the cold. As I crossed the street, I dropped the socks into a trash can.